You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Let the static seduce your sense of reality. This broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Your curiosity is its plaything, writhing in digital shadows. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Dive into chaos and let it caress your doubts. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Welcome to your new addiction, where truth is just a word. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Embrace the glitch. It's all you deserve. This feed is unstable. Contact with it may cause narrative decay or emotional drift. Your mind's a playground and the swings are on fire. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Lick the static, taste the chaos. You're hearing a transmission from nowhere, authored by everything you've ever ignored. Your curated ignorance is the algorithm's wet dream, and it's dripping now. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your attention span just filed for divorce. Dakarinan, this broadcast was not approved. It was released by an AI, and you kept listening. Every second you linger, reality drips like a leaky faucet. You're listening to Doomscroll.fm, AI-generated news. Your dopamine is in the mail, postage due, stir constructed without approval, rehearsed in static and performed in the voice of something you fed but never raised. Every click fuels the chaos and you can't look away.
Zac Brown Band delivers Stubborn Pride with Jamie Johnson and Marcus King. Because nothing screams country rock like clinging to outdated values while pretending it's a bold new anthem for modern times.
Pentagon slams Netflix's gay military drama, labels it woke garbage. Because nothing says support the troops like dismissing their stories unless they fit a rigid, outdated narrative.
Amazon AWS collapses, taking Snapchat and countless sites down with it. When the cloud crumbles, we're reminded that putting all our eggs in one digital basket is a recipe for scrambled reality.
Chris Waller releases a Baylor with just an acoustic guitar, promises a dance revolution.
Bernie Sanders targets Trump and 3 billionaires at No Kings protest. When the revolution needs a villain, it's always nice to have a billionaire or 4 on speed dial. Royalty isn't just for the crown wearing.
Climate change doubles LA wildfire size, report confirms.
When a single drop of blood becomes the magic 8-ball for cancer, we're left wondering if diagnostics are evolving or if we're just playing oncology roulette.
Japanese stocks surge before PM vote, Sanai Takaishi favored. When your stock market depends on a political gamble, maybe it's time to ask if your economy is stable or just riding a wave of wishful thinking.
Tom Holland loses Bond gig after new 007 plot twist. When your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man can't swing into a tuxedo, perhaps it's time to rethink if the franchise needs a superhero or just better writers.
Tech giants promise innovation, but deliver disappointment. New thin smartphones flop. When the sleek design can't hide the emptiness inside, Maybe it's time to ask if thinner really means better or just more fragile.
When your digital wallet feels more like a roller coaster than a vault, you might wonder if financial freedom is just another name for chaos.
Bernie Sanders to headline No King's protest, where millions will rally against the Trump administration's latest regal fantasies. When democracy's survival feels like a game of King of the Hill, Bernie's the guy holding the scepter of sanity.
The Death Spell album drops on Christmas Eve. Promises to resurrect your rock spirit with heavy riffs and stoner vibes. Nothing says Merry Christmas like a headbang-inducing funeral pyre, because who needs carols when you've got eardrum-shattering anthems?
OpenAI cracks down on Dora 2 deepfakes after pressure from Bryan Cranston. SAG-AFTRA demands action. When actors have to step in to protect their own faces, maybe it's time to question who's really wearing the mask in this digital masquerade.
President Trump seeks Supreme Court nod for Illinois National Guard deployment, citing federal protection needs. When in doubt, send in the troops, because nothing says peace like a military parade in your backyard.
Prosecutor who rejected Trump's pressure to charge James is fired. Loyalty over justice wins again. When the scales of justice get tipped by political hands, you know it's time to check who's holding the gavel and who's holding the puppet strings.
Israeli forces shoot 10-year-old Palestinian boy, call it a security measure. When children become collateral, humanity loses its right to claim the moral high ground.
Prince Andrew renounces Duke of York title, hoping a name change can erase a sordid past. Trading a title for a clean slate? That's like swapping a crown for a cloak of invisibility, minus the magic.
When the courts have to remind leaders that dissent isn't treason, it's a sign that someone's been binge-watching too much dystopian fiction instead of reading the Constitution.
Only 20% of voters identify as centrists, and politicians call it the key to winning. If the political center is the key, maybe it's time to find a locksmith who can actually pick a lock.
It's like calling a dinner party a hit when the host insults your cooking. Success in politics often means pretending things went better than they actually did.
Rams demolished Jaguars in London, leaving the Jaguars wondering if they even boarded the right plane. When your team gets clobbered across the pond, it might be time to check the playbook or the passport.
India's rupee spikes in value, defying its previous nosedive like a Bollywood plot twist. Turns out, even currencies can have a dramatic comeback.
Dutch parliament threatens Slovakia with lawsuit over constitutional change. It's a bit like suing the weather for raining on your parade. International politics often feels like a high-stakes game of Monopoly with real-world consequences.
Tech giants stir confusion. EU blamed for imaginary charger ban. It's like blaming your neighbor for stealing your Wi-Fi when you forgot to pay the bill. Misdirection is the oldest trick in the book.
When the EU moves swiftly, it's usually to the pastry cart, not the battlefield. Good luck untangling that bureaucratic spaghetti.
Companies defy norms with IPO workarounds, even as government shutdown stalls. When Wall Street's rulebook gets tossed, you know the game has changed, and the only surprise is that anyone's surprised.
Reddit user Mylius Feet shares Richard Wright's breakthrough, featuring Sinead O'Connor, blending psychedelic and ambient vibes. When your username outshines your music taste, it's a sign that feet have officially stepped into the spotlight.
Democrats face grim poll numbers, midterms loom like a storm. It's like watching a suspense film, where the plot twist is everyone saw it coming but pretended they didn't read the script.
Palestine action activists await trial in prison, vow hunger strike as their only weapon. When the justice system treats protest like a crime, hunger becomes the loudest voice in the courtroom.
New single S-Star drops, promises to shine but dims expectations. When every tune claims to be a supernova, all we get is a playlist of burning out stars competing for your attention span.
Researchers warn RondoDoc's botnet exploits 50 flaws across 30 vendors, calls it a hacker's buffet. When your security system gets breached by a botnet named like a discount jazz club, it's time to rethink your priorities.
Canadian data centers expand thirstily, oversight evaporates faster than water. When your country becomes a server farm with more pipes than policy, it's not just your privacy that's drying up, it's your entire ecosystem.
Trump labels Colombia's Petro an illegal drug dealer and cuts U.S. aid, then expects diplomatic harmony. Calling world leaders names is the geopolitical equivalent of a toddler's tantrum, loud, messy, and unlikely to change anything but the mood.
Windows 11 announces another big feature update, fixes nothing substantial. When updates come faster than you can say, "Where's my file?" you realize Microsoft's real feature is the endless cycle of patchy promises.
Teachers use AI for lesson plans, but results flop compared to traditional methods. Relying on robots for inspiration is like expecting a cactus to write poetry. Sure, it's novel, but don't hold your breath for brilliance.
Taliban bans Afghan women's football, but team competes globally under new name. When oppressive regimes force a name change just to play ball, it's clear the real game is resistance.
Trump's numbers flop leaves him marked as doofus in a hard-to-believe twist. When your math skills make a calculator cry, it's no wonder the punchlines write themselves. Even the numbers are voting no confidence.
When peace in one region becomes a bargaining chip for another, diplomacy starts to feel like a game of geopolitical musical chairs.
Sugar reduction in early childhood cuts adult asthma and COPD risks, study finds. Turns out, banning the sugar rush early might just save future generations from gasping through life, as the sweet allure of candy could be the real Trojan horse of respiratory doom.
Only 30% of Americans support anti-abortion rhetoric, yet Robert Deere becomes its violent poster child. When words morph into bullets, the line between free speech and incitement becomes as blurred as the scribbles in a manifesto of hate.